that's the bottom line.
And the truth shall set you free.
Welcome to The Bottom Line with Steve the Truth Nugent, along with his co-host, Harry Claring and Rick Morris. They cover everything from high school to the pros and everything in between. If it's sports, they've got it right here. Now, let's take you to Steve the Truth with The Bottom Line.
All right, we are here at The Bottom Line. I am Steve the Truth. Of course, the man, the myth, the legend that is Mr. Harry Clary is with us. And, of course, the entertainer that is Rick Morris behind the glass right there with us today. Harry, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I had a great week. I had to cut a lot of grass, but you know what? It makes me feel good, and I'm glad I can do it.
Well, that's what being retired is all about.
That's right. I was always tired, and now I'm doing it again, so I'm retired.
You're exactly right. Of course, the entertainer that is Rick Morris behind the glass. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fine. I had a week of working on new music and working on spots for this show.
Yeah, how was the event y'all had this past weekend? Everything go well?
Yeah, we had a blast. Had a great crowd and all, so it was good.
Yeah, like I said, if you're new to the show, he is the entertainer, Rick Morris. He plays in the band
Elixir.
And they're around the Richmond and Tri-City area just about any given weekend. So keep a lookout for them. They've been around a very long time. And if you are new to the show, I am Steve the Truth Nugent. Been in radio now since 2008. 19 years doing sports talk radio. And we're glad to be here on 106.1 ESPN Richmond, as well as the Bottom Line Sports Talk Radio show on YouTube, which you can watch the show. So if you're watching us, we appreciate that as well. Now, Harry, tell the listeners a little bit about your background.
Well, I started doing radio probably about 4 or 5 years ago when I was 18. I'm just kidding. Actually, I was sitting in K&L in probably 2005. Pastor Bennett said, "Come on, Harry, let's do some radio." And we did a little bit of that. And then you and I had a conversation probably around 2008.
August of 2008.
And we started doing the late night sports show. And that's probably really when radio kicked in for me.
Yeah, and me as well, of course. And like I said, we really appreciate our time at the other network, but we're really excited to be, right here on the Bottom Line Sports Talk Radio talk show on YouTube channel and 106.1 ESPN Richmond every Sunday from 9 to 10. But our big news this week so far, Harry, is the World Cup is coming to an end. And we had an exciting 2 games this past week, the semifinals. Of course, Spain won their game 2-0, and then Argentina took on England. And Argentina, this is the 4th time they did this tournament. They have scored multiple goals in the last part of the game. They win 2-1, and they play Spain in the World Cup final. And they are the returning champions of the World Cup. And they had the greatest soccer player on the planet on their team, which is Messi. And so, like I said,
he's up in age now, isn't he?
Yeah, this is his last one. He's 41 years old.
Well, yeah. You know, if your name's Tom Brady, that's not that old.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yep. Other news. So the World Cup is Sunday. Say later today. How about that? And congratulations. Of course, the U.S. did their thing. Another note this past week. You know what? Wednesday of this week is
Hump Day.
The slowest sports day of the year.
Oh, that's right. We talked about this a year ago, didn't we, Steve?
Yeah. Yep, it is the day after the All-Star game. No major sports in the United States. Of course, the World Cup, that's internationally. But NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, or the NHL play today.
No cricket? No tiddlywinks?
It might be
no yacht racing?
It might be some WNBA played on that date. But major sports, of course. One of the slowest sports days of the year is the day after the All-Star game. So, and we're here to, like I said, bring you some sports and Like I said, I just want to thank everybody for listening to us. I'm a little sidetracked right there, but go into the news of the day, Harry. The news of the week. Geno Smith, of course, his investigation so far is his incident with a woman that accused him of battery last month is no longer active, and the New York Jet quarterback will not be charged in Davie, Florida. Police Department confirmed to ESPN on Tuesday. No further investigation steps will be reasonably taken with the information presented available. But to tell you what happened, back office were summons to Smith's home back June 21st after a woman claiming to be his ex-girlfriend called 911 and said she was assaulted by him. She posted a video to Instagram of a dispute with Smith saying on the camera that he ran outside and attacked me. And, of course, they found no truth to that. And, of course, he's back in the Jets. Your thoughts about Geno Smith, not on this, but Geno Smith being the quarterback for the New York Jets again?
Well, the Jets have had some real bad luck with everything, and every quarterback that goes there struggles. I mean, Aaron Rodgers struggled when he went there. Brett Favre struggled when he went there. Geno Smith struggled there. You can go down the list. Everybody that has played for the Jets is going to, and of course, Geno Smith goes to Seattle and he's all pro, right? Okay. And then he goes to the Raiders, and the Raiders aren't as bad as the Jets, but his game went down a little bit, but still better than the Jets. When he plays this season for the Jets, he's going to prove once and for all, it doesn't matter who they get at quarterback. It's not going to work.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can see that. Jets have been known to do that, but sometimes they have my Dolphins number. That's why you see what you see behind me there. I am a big Miami Dolphin fan. I mean, big. I'm 280, 5'11", but I've been a Dolphin fan all my life. And other news this week, Harry, running back Alvin Kamara will play for the Saints in 2026 because he reworked his contract. His agent confirmed to NFL Network this past week. Alvin's gold is the team's gold. And, of course, with the new coach, the coach that came from Dallas, the offensive coordinator.
Kellen
Moore. And Coach Moore, he really likes the offensive side of the ball. He really likes them running backs. And I really think he's going to succeed in this offense.
If I'm not mistaken, my memory serves me right, Kamara scored 6 touchdowns in one game one year. Do you remember that?
Yes, and now, of course, we do have a new, speaking of that real quick, speaking of 6 touchdowns in a game, fantasy football listeners out there, if you play fantasy football, be sure to tune into our show. We do have a new segment coming up with Mr. Harry Clary. He is the fantasy football authority. And it's going to be great. That segment of the show is brought to you by Hourglass Realty Group. And that'll be later on in the show, so stay tuned for that this hour. Other news today, this week, Harry Pickens to play on $27.3 million tag as the deadline passes. That's not bad money.
No, and, he said he wasn't going to interrupt anything. He wanted to go ahead and get in camp and play. And I predict that he will outperform CeeDee Lamb.
That's a good point. That's another segment that we're going to be talking about this hour as well. We're going to break down the top 10 wide receivers in the National Football League today in the next hour as well. And is George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb on there? We'll have to wait and see. But that'll be right after the first break. We'll break that down, and then we'll go right into the fantasy show that we have for you, get you all caught up and ready to go for the games that you have ready to go. The late minute people that you want to put in the game during the football season, like I said, we'll be here every Sunday from 9 to 10 to help you with your fantasy football. And like I said, be sure to check us out 9 to 10 on 106.1 ESPN Richmond. And, of course, you can check us out on the Bottom Line Sports Talk radio show right there on our YouTube channel. Switching gears a little bit from pro football, I'll get that out in a minute, to ACC. This week is the media week for the ACC, the CIAA, and quite a few other conferences. And, of course, last year I was at the ACC championship game in Charlotte between Duke and UVA, and Duke ended up winning. It was a very good game, but Duke really shouldn't have been there. It should have been the University of Miami. But their tiebreaker system had it different to where Duke would go and not Miami, although Miami was 10-2 and ended up making the playoffs at an at-large bid and going all the way to the national championship game. So the ACC has implemented a new tiebreaker for that. Of course, after a 5-way tie for the second place put Duke in the ACC championship game over higher-ranked Miami last season, the new tiebreaker was announced on Wednesday, and the move of Commissioner Jim Phillips described as getting the league in the right place to feature the two best teams in our conference. And the new tiebreaker, let's see, the number one tiebreaker remains head-to-head. The ACC said no team will be overly rewarded or penalized based on the number of conference games it plays, because out of ACC play, conference games, that really doesn't matter, because sometimes, UVA plays a William and Mary or a Richmond, and Miami may not, or Duke may not. So they've been trying to schedule as many conference games as possible, as the ACC is. Virginia is opening up with an ACC opponent this year, which is NC State. That game's supposed to have been played in Brazil, but it got changed for multiple reasons, and it got postponed. Put back at UVA. So that would be there. I think it's 1st of September or late August. We'll have to get that. But when head-to-head matchups cannot separate the tied teams, the ACC will use a team success ranking provided by Sports Source as a way to reward the team with the strongest body of work. Last year, the Blue Devils made the conference championship game over the Hurricanes based on a fifth tiebreaker, conference opponent winning percentage. That's how they got in, because they didn't play the same caliber of teams that Miami did. And Miami only had 2 losses. Duke had 4. But in the conference, they were tied. So they made a change there, which I think it's a good change. And college football playoffs will give automatic spots to each Power 4 champions, Phillips says. And it's important to be sure our top 2 best teams in the ACC meet in the championship game in December in Charlotte. So they made a good move there, I think, to get that all straight. And that's the headlines of the day. With that, we're going to take our first break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about, Harry, the top 10 best wide receivers in the National Football League. The last show we did, we talked about the pass rushers. And, of course, since then, Aaron Donald has been working out, and he's coming back. And if you put Myles Garrett and Aaron Donald on the same team, the Rams are set to win.
The Rams want to win, and they look like they're going to do what it takes to do so.
Yeah, that's going to be a very, very good defense, especially if they can stay healthy all season long.
That's always a factor.
Yeah. With that, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the top 10 wide receivers in the National Football League. You're listening to the Bottom Line Sports Talk Radio Show right here on 106.1 ESPN Richmond.
K&L Barbecue at 1410 Maple Street, inside Cavalier Square, Hopewell. Wants you to know they have great specials on the daily menu, such as hamburger steaks, grilled chicken, a lightly fried chicken sandwich, and of course, the best chicken and dumplings in the Tri-Cities. And don't forget about their world-famous barbecue and sauce. Dine in or carry out at K&L Barbecue. Call 458-4241. That's 458-4241 for K&L Barbecue.
I just want to encourage everybody listening today. Your health matters. Your peace matters. You don't have to settle for feeling exhausted, stressed, or just stuck wherever you are. God gave us everything we need. Simple, powerful gifts from the earth to support our bodies naturally. It's not complicated. It's not overwhelming. It's just about taking one small step back to what He originally intended. You deserve to feel amazing. And natural solutions are really closer than you think. It's just a text, a phone call, or a stop by Carr Brothers away.
Start your wellness journey today. Reach out to Tony Carr Hathaway. She's been waiting for you. Text wellness to 804-212-8571.
Looking to sell, buy, or invest in real estate? Let Keith and Mandy guide you through the journey of homeownership for years to come. in business since 2007 as multi-million-dollar producers, they specialize in residential and commercial properties across Richmond, Chesterfield, the Tri-Cities, and surrounding areas. Call 804-712-0188 and visit them at 11801 Center Street in Chester. They're online at hourglassrealtygroup.com.
Hi, this is Andy Clark with Ligon Jones Insurance Services. We're proud to give back to our community by supporting local youth sports and encourage you all to get out and cheer for your team. We're a local independent agent representing Erie Insurance and several others. Give us a call at 804-458-8522 or stop by our new location at 5392 Prince George Drive, Suite B, and let us show you what old-fashioned customer service feels like. We can be your insurance concierge and save you money. www.ligonjones.com.
And that's the bottom line.
And the truth shall set you free.
Now let's get back to the bottom line with Steve the Truth Nugent, Harry Clary, and Rick Morris.
That's right. We're back here at the K&L Barbecue Studios. We want to thank you for joining us on this beautiful morning. Let's hope it's a beautiful morning. And I am Steve the Truth alongside of the man, the myth, the legend that is Mr. Harry Clary, and the entertainer that is Rick Morris. And, of course, we want to thank you for joining us. Before the break, I did say we were going to talk a little bit about wide receivers in the National Football League, Harry. And before we go through this top 10, in the production meeting we talked about the top 10. Your thoughts on, before we put them out there, your thoughts on the top 10 that we have right in front of us?
Well, I think that top 10 is pretty accurate. And, you know, every year, Steve, somebody comes out of nowhere, whether it be a comeback from an injury or some guy breaks out. And that could be somebody like Neighbors. For Tampa Bay, it could be somebody like Godwin, who he had a good year like 2 or 3 years ago, and he's injury riddled. I think he could come back, and I think he could make it into the top 10 now that Evans is gone.
We talked about it a couple of weeks ago on the show, and Godwin was one of the players that we had on the list to bounce back coming into 2026.
And McLaurin, I'd say the same thing for Washington.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was one of the players that will bounce back this season for the Washington Redskins. And before I do this list, of course, the big news this week, Stephon Diggs, of course, he's a free agent. He's not playing anywhere. He came out with his clip and said he's the best number 2 in the league.
Well, he is, but I got a whole different meaning for that number 2.
Yeah, but your thoughts on a lot of people locally would like him to see him come to Washington with the Commanders with Jalen Daniels, and I really think that could be a good matchup with Terry there as well.
Well, yeah, Diggs is one of those guys that he's full of talent, and we know how good he is, but will he disrupt the team when he gets there? That would be my only concern about Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, so it should be interesting to see where he falls. And another free agent, of course, Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, can he come back from that devastating injury? And if it's anybody in the world, he is a freak of nature. He could probably do it.
Yeah, and then he's, like I said, he didn't make the top 10. He was an honorable mention, the free agent that is Tyreek Hill. So, but coming in at number 10, I got a question with this, but like I said, this came off of ESPN.com if you want to check it out right there on ESPN.com. They got the top 10 wide receivers headed into 2026. Devontae Adams comes in at number 10. You know, the only top 10 receiver in his 30s. Adams secured the last spot despite producing his lowest receiving yardage total at 789 yards since 2015. But look what he did for Matthew Stafford. He's going to really help out the Rams a lot. Of course, I know we're talking a lot about the Rams, but they're out there spending money, and they picked up Adams last season. He had 2 easy connections on the ball to go on balls and back shoulder throws, and Stafford threw 14 touchdowns to Adam on his way to the MVP award last year.
Right. Well, I wouldn't worry about only getting 700 and some yards if you're going to get 14 touchdowns. And he's got Puka Nacua also, so, you know, there's plenty to go around there for the Rams.
Like one of the NFC executives says, he just knows how to get open. And, of course, our next segment is going to be the fantasy football segment. Of course, 14 touchdowns. That's well worth – in a touchdown league, that's well worth having on your team.
Yes, it is. And you just brought up a good point. You know, if you're in a yardage league, you would worry about only getting 700 and some yards in a 17-game schedule.
Yeah, we'll talk about more about that in that segment with the Fantasy Football Authority, that the touchdown leagues, the PBR leagues, and all that.
And then there's the FanDuel where they got a cap on everything, a certain you can't exceed.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, we'll talk about that in the next segment. But hey, coming in at number 10, Davante Adams. Coming in at number 9, which I think Davante Adams were probably the honorable mentions. Neighbors, maybe I would have put there. Of course, he's easily a top 10 wide receivers playing in New York, and he's got Jackson Dart now throwing him the ball. I think he's going to be really, really good as well. All right, number 9, A.J. Brown in a new home, going to New England. They just came off a Super Bowl run. I say Super Bowl run. They lost the Super Bowl. They got a lot of young talent there. He's just leaving the Eagles in a new place. You think he'll and of course, Josh McDaniels is the offensive coordinator for New England. He's not a genius, but he's very, very good at what he does as offensive coordinator. Maybe not so much as a head coach, but as offensive coach for the New England Patriots, Josh McDaniels is pretty good. So your thoughts real quick on A.J. Brown.
Well, A.J. Brown got paid, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always say when they get paid, beware. But it might be a good fit for him there, because when somebody asks me what wide receiver I should get, one of the things I think is who is throwing to them. And I think Drake May is good enough.
Yeah, Drake May is great. And, of course, his size, he's so big. And like I said, runs after the catch is explosive. That's a 50-50 chance on any ball thrown to him.
Right. And one thing I look for in a receiver always, Steve, when I look in the stats, I don't look so much yardage, touchdown, targets is what I look at. And I think he'll probably get a few targets.
Especially down toward the end zones, being big as he is, throwing the fade in the corner. Yep, moving up to number 8, Nico Collins with the Houston Texans. Of course, one personnel executive with the NFL puts Collins has the traits that you would draw up for building a receiver from scratch. And, of course, around 25% of Collins' catches went for 20 yards or more last season. His third consecutive 1,000-yard season ties the longest streak in franchise history for the Houston Texans. He also tied for second in receptions with 40 or more yards last season with 5. He's an explosive wide receiver.
He is a home run threat, and there's no doubt about it. He's fast and he's fearless. He'll go over the middle. He's a great receiver.
Yeah, Houston's looking pretty good. Of course, on the defense, they got the best defense in the league. So if they don't start in the hole like they did last year, 0-3, look for Houston to be very competitive. Moving into number 7, the Dallas Cowboys. George Pickens, we just mentioned it in the opening about him making $27.3 million this year. And, hey, he attracts a lot of attention from defense and is ranked one spot higher on the list. Well, the next one's coming up, which is CeeDee Lamb. Both of them be 6A and, be the same receiver pretty much. Broke out in 2025 with 93 catches, 1,429 yards and 9 touchdowns. His 5 games with at least 125 yards receiving tied for the most in a single season in franchise history for the Dallas Cowboys. You used to be a Dallas Cowboy fan back in the day. Now, that's a big deal. Y'all had some great wide receivers. And he, in his 5 games with at least 125 yards receiving, ties for the most single season for the franchise.
Well, Dak's got a lot to throw to. CeeDee Lamb, he's got Pickens, got Ferguson at tight end. Dallas should do well barring injuries this year. They have a really good offense.
Yeah, they have a great offense. If the quarterback can stay healthy, they should be competing.
Just enough to give the Cowboys hope before they get the rug pulled out from under them at the last second at the end of the season to send you all home angry. But next year,
It's always
them
next year.
boys are coming back.
And I'm a Dolphin fan. And like I said, I know all about it. And coming in, number 6 is C.D. Lamb with the Dallas Cowboys. Lamb is coming off his worst season statistically since he was a rookie in 2020. He dealt with an early season ankle issue and never quite took off, finishing with 1,077 yards and only 3 touchdowns. Usually an after-the-catch standout, his 322 yards after the catch were down from his standards. His 8 drops. I remember the one game.
I think he got all those in 2 games.
Yeah. 8 drops this season was just second behind Travis Kelce. How about that? You know, as receiver tight end wise. And, of course, Travis Kelce just got married, him and Taylor Swift. And then, of course, I heard recently they just got their first pet.
Yeah?
Yeah, a little dog. Your thoughts on C.D. Lamb?
Oh, C.D. Lamb is a great athlete, and I think it just gives Dallas such a great advantage that if you double cover C.D. Lamb, then they're going to go to Diggs or Ferguson. If you double cover Pickens, then you're going to go to C.D. Lamb or to the running back or to the tight end. I think it's a big advantage having both of those guys. It really is.
Yeah, well, just about the time for a break real quick. And when we come back, we're going to do the top 5. Break it down from 5 to 1. Best wide receivers headed into 2026 National Football League right here on the Bottom Line Sports Talk Radio Show right here on 106.1 ESPN Richmond.
K&L Barbecue at 1410 Maple Street, inside Cavalier Square, Hopewell. Wants you to know they have great specials on the daily menu, such as hamburger steaks, grilled chicken, a lightly fried chicken sandwich, and of course, the best chicken and dumplings in the Tri-Cities. And don't forget about their world-famous barbecue and sauce. Dine in or carry out at K&L Barbecue. Call 458-4241. That's 458-4241 for K&L Barbecue.
I just want to encourage everybody listening today. Your health matters. Your peace matters. You don't have to settle for feeling exhausted, stressed, or just stuck wherever you are. God gave us everything we need. Simple, powerful gifts from the earth to support our bodies naturally. It's not complicated. It's not overwhelming. It's just about taking one small step back to what He originally intended. You deserve to feel amazing. And natural solutions are really closer than you think. It's just a text, a phone call, or a stop by Carr Brothers away.
Start your wellness journey today. Reach out to Tony Carr Hathaway. She's been waiting for you. Text wellness to 804-212-8571.
Looking to sell, buy, or invest in real estate? Let Keith and Mandy guide you through the journey of homeownership for years to come. In business since 2007 as multi-million-dollar producers, they specialize in residential and commercial properties across Richmond, Chesterfield, the Tri-Cities, and surrounding areas. Call 804-712-0188 and visit them at 11801 Center Street in Chester. They're online at hourglassrealtygroup.com.
Hi, this is Andy Clark with Ligon Jones Insurance Services. We're proud to give back to our community by supporting local youth sports and encourage you all to get out and cheer for your team. We're a local independent agent representing Erie Insurance and several others. Give us a call at 804-458-8522 or stop by our new location at 5392 Prince George Drive, Suite B, and let us show you what old-fashioned customer service feels like. We can be your insurance concierge and save you money. www.ligonjones.com.
And that's the bottom line.
And the truth shall set you free.
Now let's get back to the bottom line with Steve the Truth Nugent, Harry Clary, and Rick Morris.
That's right. We are back here at the studios, and this segment of the Bottom Line Sports Talk Radio Show is brought to you by Ligon Jones Insurance. Mr. Andy Clark, proud sponsor of the Bottom Line Sports Talk Radio Show and West End Christian School, located down there in Hopewell. And we'll be bringing Another segment before we go back to the top 5 that we'll have over the next couple months. We're going to break down the high school football in the area. We're going to try to cover all the sports and get the all the scores to you as when we can, like we've been doing in the past and with the 18 years, and of course college as well. And looking forward to that as well. So glad you're tuning in to us. If you're, like I said, if you're new to us, I'm Steve the Truth Nugent, been in radio for a while, along with Harry Clary, the man, the myth, the legend, and the entertainer that is Rick Morris, the man behind the glass. So taking a look at the top 5, St. Brown, Detroit Lions, wide receiver. St. Brown is active beast mode several times in 2025, most notably on Thursday Night Football in Week 14 when he produced 92 yards on a high ankle sprain despite 3 days of rest. And he's putting in he puts in the work and everything. And like I said, a 582 yards after the catch in 2025 was third among all receivers. And the Lions wideout is the only player with at least 1,000 yards receiving and 10 touchdown catches in the past 3 seasons. So how about that?
Well, he's got Jared Goff throwing to him. That's one thing right there. And Williams is a real good second receiver there. They've also got a really good tight end. But St. Brown is a special receiver. I'd love to have him on my fantasy team.
That's right. Of course, speaking of fantasy, the next segment, we're going to break down the Fantasy Football Authority with Mr. Harry Clary. And he'll get you straight, and we'll talk in that segment about how many championships this young man has won in fantasy football. And I just say young as a pun.
Have you got a calculator, Steve?
I do not.
Oh, well, I don't know how we're going to count them.
We'll talk about that in the next segment. Of course, the Los Angeles Rams, we already had one receiver from the Rams in the top 10. Now we got Puka. And last year was on the fringe of the top 10, but he was denied. He wasn't denied this year, apparently. On all the ballots, had him in the top 10. And, of course, he's number 4. Only 85% of votes went within the top 5 after he led the NFL with 129 catches in 2025, the second most Rams history behind Cooper Kupp in 2021. 8 career games with at least 150 receiving yards, tied an NFL record with Justin Jefferson for the most by a player in his first 3 seasons. He had 668 yards after the catch, led receivers last year, while 80 of his catches went for first downs. That's a big deal. He caught 77.2% of his targets, symbolizing his incredible consistency. Of course, he is really, really good and, of course, got hurt there toward the end. So let's hope he gets better. And your thoughts on Puka?
Puka Nacua, I'm telling you, this is a guy that's having fun when he plays football. He's smiling all the time. I mean, his eyes are like slits. You could blindfold him with dental floss. But he is always smiling. He's having a great time out there. And what a great wide receiver. I'd also love to have him. That's why he's ranked so high.
Yep, you're exactly right. Now, Jackson Smith-Njigba of the Seattle Seahawks comes in number 3. Of course, season for the ages helped him complete the top 5 this year. He ultimately fell short last year. His league-leading 1,793 receiving yards accounted for 44% of his team's receiving yards in 2025, the highest player share since Brandon Marshall in 2012 with the Chicago Bears. He had 46%. And then, of course, Seattle won the Super Bowl, and he was a big reason for that. Your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. Well, see, Steve, every player that you've named has a great quarterback. And like I said before this segment, when somebody says, who are you going to choose because of their ability, that's one thing. But who is throwing to them? That's what you really have to look out for. And, you know, I think Njigba's going to have another great season.
Yeah, I think Seattle would be there. I don't think they're one of the teams they look to after a Super Bowl, not be able to be able to they'll make the playoffs. They're in a tough division, but we're talking about receivers right now. And number 2, without a doubt, is Justin Jefferson with the Minnesota Vikings. He was a past number 1 on this list for 6 years. I mean, not for 6 years, but he was on it within the last 6 years, and didn't get the top spot this time, but he ranks number 2, and he registered on this number 1 or number 2 on about 70% of the ballot. So several voters considering him a cut above the rest. And of course, 8,480 receiving yards are the most by any player in his first 6 seasons in NFL history. And his 6 straight 1,000-yard campaigns ties Randy Moss for second in franchise history. Guess who's first? He don't only catches touchdowns. Minnesota Vikings. Chris Carter.
Oh, Chris Carter.
All he does is catch touchdowns.
Yeah. I remember that. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. Jefferson, career low, 1,048 yards in 2025. Of course, hurt his vote slightly, but the voters gave him the pass due poor quarterback play. Of course, Minnesota's, as you just mentioned it a second ago, you need a quarterback to throw you the ball. And Minnesota's J.J. McCarthy, that was a struggle.
Well, see, this is where I put my foot in my mouth. I was just talking about all the receivers had a really good quarterback so far. And, of course, J.J. McCarthy did not have a good year. And Kyler Murray is not a top 15 quarterback. Somebody may think that he is, but I don't think he is. Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in football, but he needs a quarterback there to get the ball to him.
Now, speaking of the number 1 wide receiver in the National Football League, headed into 2026 by ESPN.com, Jamar Chase of the Cincinnati Bengals. Chase dominated the voting like it was unprepared rookie cornerback on an island, earning around 70% of the first-place votes despite finishing 3rd in catches at 125, 4th in receiving yards, 1,412 last season. The reason? He looks different than anybody else with the ball in his hands. Chase, 6,837 receiving yards for the second most by any player within his first 5 seasons in the National Football League history, trailing only to former LSU teammate Justin Jefferson. So that's funny. Both of them went to LSU and played together. And, of course, Burrows played there, and they won the championship, the national championship with LSU in college football. But since his debut in 2021, Chase has 19 touchdowns and 40-plus yards are the most in NFL, 6 more than the next closest player, which is Tyreek Hill. And his 29 receptions against press coverage topped the NFL in 2025, highlighting his response when challenged at the line. Of course, he got speed. He got everything he needs as a wide receiver, and he has Burrows throwing him the ball, which is a good quarterback. Your thoughts on Jamar Chase and the top 10?
Well, you just solved the problem right there, because Jefferson, all he has to do is go to Cincinnati and be right back where he was at LSU, and the problem is solved. But, Chase should be number 1 because of the situation that he is in versus Jefferson. Like I said, I think Jefferson is probably even a little better, but good. I'd love to have either one of them. Both of them are great. Joe Burrow is great long as he's in there.
Yeah, long as he's playing, he don't get hurt.
Long as he's in there, you'll be fine. But, I think that's a pretty good top 10. You asked me what I thought about it overall. I think it's fairly close to and, of course, this is why we call it ESPN. It's because we're guessing.
Yep, you're exactly right. And it was a good poll. Of course, you can check it out on ESPN.com. And, of course, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have the first segment of the Fantasy Football Authority with Mr. Harry Clary and get you set up. Of course, it is coming up. Fantasy football is right around the corner. Drafts. Some people do their drafts early in August. Some people do it late in August. Of course, we wait until the 25th or 26th of August before all the preseason games are played before we draft our team. And we're going to break down a little bit and break down exactly what league that you might be in, or you could take it for what we have so far stat-wise and go with it from there. But looking forward to that new segment coming up in just 1 second. So we're going to take a break. You're listening to the Bottom Line Sports Talk Radio Show right here on 106.1 ESPN Richmond.
K&L Barbecue at 1410 Maple Street, inside Cavalier Square, Hopewell, wants you to know they have great specials on the daily menu, such as hamburger steaks, grilled chicken, a lightly fried chicken sandwich, and of course, the best chicken and dumplings in the Tri-Cities. And don't forget about their world-famous barbecue and sauce. Dine in or carry out at K&L Barbecue. Call 458-4241. That's 458-4241 for K&L Barbecue.
I just want to encourage everybody listening today. Your health matters. Your peace matters. You don't have to settle for feeling exhausted, stressed, or just stuck wherever you are. God gave us everything we need. Simple, powerful gifts from the earth to support our bodies naturally. It's not complicated. It's not overwhelming. It's just about taking one small step back to what He originally intended. You deserve to feel amazing. And natural solutions are really closer than you think. It's just a text, a phone call, or a stop by Carr Brothers away.
Start your wellness journey today. Reach out to Tony Carr Hathaway. She's been waiting for you. Text wellness to 804-212-8571.
Looking to sell, buy, or invest in real estate? Let Keith and Mandy guide you through the journey of homeownership for years to come. In business since 2007 as multi-million-dollar producers, they specialize in residential and commercial properties across Richmond, Chesterfield, the Tri-Cities, and surrounding areas. Call 804-712-0188 and visit them at 11801 Center Street in Chester. They're online at hourglassrealtygroup.com.
Hi, this is Andy Clark with Ligon Jones Insurance Services. We're proud to give back to our community by supporting local youth sports and encourage you all to get out and cheer for your team. We're a local independent agent representing Erie Insurance and several others. Give us a call at 804-458-8522 or stop by our new location at 5392 Prince George Drive, Suite B, and let us show you what old-fashioned customer service feels like. We can be your insurance concierge and save you money. www.ligonjones.com.
And that's the bottom line.
And the truth shall set you free.
Now let's get back to the bottom line with Steve the Truth Nugent, Harry Clary, and Rick Morris.
That's right. We are back here at the studios. And, of course, we appreciate you joining us. And, as always, we want to thank all our great sponsors right here for the Bottom Line Sports Talk Radio Show. And, like I said, the show, if you just joined us with the last segment, we did the top 10 wide receivers in the National Football League by ESPN.com. And, of course, Jamar Chase was number one. So we could do 1A with Justin Jefferson, Harry. I think both of them would be ranked right up there.
Can't go wrong either way.
You're exactly right. And this is the newest segment of our show that we're going to be doing every Sunday morning. Get you ready for the National Football League. And that is
Fantasy Football Tips with Harry Clary, brought to you by Hourglass Realty. The Fantasy Gridiron, the toughest place to win, the most difficult place to make choices. Which players to start, which players to sit. Do you make a trade? You need help? Well, help has arrived here on the Bottom Line. Now, there's Fantasy Football Tips with Harry Clary. His advice may just give you the edge you need to win in your league. Let's turn it over to Harry right now.
All right, if I could only have people cheering for me like that. What I'm going to do today is pretty much an introduction to how I'm going to be doing this segment all during the year. First thing I'd like to say is fantasy football is very fun for me. I know it's fun for Steve, and it is as fun as you can make it. And I can speak for the two leagues that I'm in. When we go to the draft, it's a lot of fun because it's nothing but great food at both places that we go. it's we have a ball with it.
And a lot of folks out there go to restaurants or different places to do their drafts, and we do the same thing, just at different households. And yeah, it's a lot of fun to do it in person. I know a lot of you out there do it online and do the automated draft and stuff like that, but we do it old school.
That's right, and we have a lot of camaraderie in both of these leagues, and I believe, and the two leagues I'm in, there's several people that are in both leagues, including Steve and myself. But it's just as fun as you can make it. And what I want to talk about is there's different types of leagues with different rules. Some leagues favor yardage, some leagues favor points. And then there's like FanDuel, where you have a cap on everything. You can't have but a certain amount of players or you'll go over the cap. Well, whatever advice I give, if your league is a little different, you just have to adjust and adapt according to your league. And a lot of these leagues have different rules. Like one of our leagues, you can go one running back and 4 wide. The other league, you got to start 2 running backs. Some leagues have tight ends. Some leagues you have a defense that you have to put in. Some leagues don't have a defense. So what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of different leagues, and you just have to read between the lines when I'm giving this advice and apply it to the type of league that you are in. And other things I want to go over is like injuries. You know, if you think somebody's injury prone, it's always good to get the backup person behind them. It's always good to read the injury report. Another thing I'd like to go over is the weather. We don't realize how much weather is a factor in fantasy football, and people don't realize it. But the wind is probably the biggest factor of all. If you've got an average wind of 15, 20 miles an hour, gust up to 30, it's hard to kick. It's hard to pass. It's going to be mostly a running game.
Especially if you got teams in the north, with Green Bay, Chicago, and what have you.
And if they play not in a dome,
yeah.
You know. And, you know, I've talked to a lot of people about this in fantasy football. I also want to cover this. A lot of people say it's all luck. Well, it couldn't be all luck, because I can draft you a team you cannot win with. I can promise you that. So what I'm trying to say is we can only guess how much is skill and how much is luck. I'm gonna say it's 50-50. Some people say it's 60-40. But you pick. There is luck involved, and if you play fantasy football, if you've ever tied a game, and lost due to the tiebreaker, if you've lost by 1 point at the last second, you know that there is a lot of luck in fantasy football. But let's say it is 50-50. We, you know, just for, you know, the sake of doing this, if it is 50-50, how you play that 50% you are in control of can put you over the top over a 14-game. That's usually what we play in a lot of our leagues, a regular season 14 games. Some people do more, some people do less, but it's generally
14, because you don't want to play the championship game on the 18th week of the season, where a lot of players may be sitting out because they made the playoffs and this, that, and the other, so we cut it a week short, to where in the week 17 there's a better chance of all players playing.
Right, and you know, when I played a long time ago, it was before we got on the computer, Steve.
Yeah.
And God, I hate to even bring this up, but there were people that didn't care a long time ago, wouldn't put in their lineup, the league wasn't as good and as competitive as it is now. And what I'm trying to say is I'm glad I'm in 2 leagues with some really great fantasy football. It's no fun beating people that don't try.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in a league, we found that the more the stakes went up, Steve, the more people put their lineup in, the more people paid attention. I would say in both leagues we're in now, Steve, there's no lagging.
No, it's like I said, we play to win the game, and, you know, quote the coach, and, you know, the money that we pay to play. Yeah, we're really focused on our lineup, and like I said, other leagues that especially toward the end of the season when somebody doesn't have a chance to make the playoffs. They kind of, and then if you're playing in league, all of us, or 12 of us in both leagues, are close friends, and we live in the area. And, we don't have a buddy system. Oh, I'm out of the playoffs, so I'm going to sit such and such so you could win the game against me late in the season to put somebody, put that person in the playoffs possibly, when we're sitting in playing another game against somebody, and, we have to play all our players. So we eliminated all of that in our league.
I'm going to have to say the two leagues we're in, which are the Dirty Dozen League, named after Greg Frankenstein, who passed away, and the Ronnie Bell League, named after Ronnie Bell, of course, who passed away a little over four years ago. Both of them were great players, great coaches, should I say. And that's a big factor is if you're in a fantasy football league and let's say you're not taking it that seriously, it's not a lot of money, this segment probably isn't going to apply to you as much. But I have to say in the two leagues I'm in, all of the coaches are top notch. I mean, I don't take anybody for granted that I play. I think all of us have beat each other. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of respect in this league.
And it's very competitive too.
It is super competitive. And Steve was talking about what my record is. Well, Steve, I don't know what that has to do with this show here. My record. Oh, you're talking fantasy
football.
Oh, fantasy football. Oh, okay. Well, since we're talking about that, then I've done pretty good. In the Ronnie Bell League, I went to 3 Super Bowls in a row, and then I left that league for a little while. Mm-hmm. And then when the first year I came back, guess what?
You won the championship.
I won the Super Bowl. So I went to 4 in a row. So in both leagues, I'd say in the last 8-9 years, I've been to half of the Super Bowls. Of course, I haven't won them all, mm-hmm. but that's very hard to do. It's easier to make the playoffs than it is at the end of the year because there's so many players that if you play fantasy football, they sit out at the end of the year. Let's say they don't have to win, and so they don't want their quarterback to get hurt. They don't want their wide receiver to get hurt. They sit them out on. Week 17, mm-hmm. week 18, sometimes even week 16, and that messes up people. It makes it tough to win at the end of the year. But I'm going over all these things just as a guideline to tell you what types of things I am going to be talking about. And what's coming up is the draft, and we have different kinds of drafts. 2 leagues we're in. One of them we draft serpentine. One of them we draft in order, 1 through 12, then 1 through 12, then 1 through 12. And we all know that if you do real well the year before, if you win, you're going to pick last. Mm-hmm. And if you come in last place, you're going to pick first.
I get to go first.
Unless somebody takes your pick due to a trade.
Yeah, unless you do trade.
That's right. So the league is set up so that if your team is down, you get all the advantages. And if you lose in week 1 and you're the worst loser, you get the first pick up to try to build up your team. And I tell you the truth, I've had some of my best luck, Steve, when I lost early because I got to do pickups early.
The pickups are the most important thing. Like I said, you'll draft your team, but you have to start picking up players, soon. Because, of course, the waiver wire, the way it's set up, the worst team gets to pick if somebody's – you and I both going out there to try to get Tyreek Hill. If you're 1-0 and I'm 0-1, I'm going to get it because my record's worse than yours. And that's a very important. And then them bye weeks, Harry, the bye weeks are really important.
Right, and some advice I'd like to give people is don't let the coaches that you're playing with get in your head. I'll never forget. Long time ago, this wide receiver that nobody had ever heard of scored 2 touchdowns on the first game of the season against Detroit, and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna pick him up." And all the other coaches said, "Oh man, that was a fluke." Well, I picked him up. It was Anquan Bolden, and he ended up not being a fluke. Yeah. So everybody's good when you get in the National Football League. So when somebody scores 2 or 3 touchdowns and you never heard of them before, if you got somebody you can get rid of on the team, I'm going to advise pick them up because there's no such thing as a fluke in the NFL. In my opinion.
And if you got any questions, you can 804-698-0754. You can send us a text with your question, and we'll get it to the Fantasy Football Authority, and he'll answer it on air. That's 804-698-0754. And Harry will definitely get a good answer for you on our next show.
Absolutely. And I just want, there's a lot of things to think about when you are in the draft. Some leagues, they have keeper leagues where you get to keep 3 players, maybe 4 players, maybe it's 1 player. And some leagues, you just pick completely all over again. So probably in later episodes when we're going to tell you who I think should be the number 1 draft, we will do it on if you're not in a keeper league basis. That way, when you get to draft, the first 36 we keep 3 in our leagues. That's the first 36. So it gets really iffy after 36 players anyway. But we're gonna go over quarterbacks, what to look for in a quarterback. So we're going to go over strategies. We're going to go over running backs. We're going to go over wide receivers. We're going to go over tight ends. We're going to go over kickers, and we're going to go over defense. Some, like I said before, some leagues have defense. Some leagues don't have defense. Mm-hmm. But we're going to cover it all. In our league, we used to do this thing called a one ring because, a lot of the guys in the league are buddies. And when you score like a touchdown and you're playing a friend of yours, get on the telephone, you have their number already logged in, and you hit it and let it ring one time and hang up and let them know, hey, I just scored on you, or I just beat you. And if it was like Ronnie Bell, boy, he would do the triple one ring. He would ride by your house, honk the horn, and one ring you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember. I got one ringed on a Monday Night Football. I'm sitting there watching it downstairs in my man cave, and I was playing Ronnie and he had one player, and he needed a touchdown, and he got it like in the third quarter. And I'm sitting there in the lazy boy, and the phone goes ring, and I look down, and it just rung one time. But yeah, that's something fun that you can add. I know a lot of leagues out there got it to where if you finish last, you gotta go, walk down the street butt naked and this, that, and the other, or wear the other team's colors, and that's what makes it so much fun.
And it's almost the opposite of real football, because let's say you have a quarterback and you need him to throw a touchdown. Well, if the other team scores and moves ahead, you got a better chance of getting that touchdown. Mm-hmm. You don't have a good chance of him throwing a touchdown if your quarterback is ahead.
Yeah.
That's why I'm telling everybody this year, if you're going to draft a tight end, get McBride for the Cardinals, because they're going to be behind.
Yeah.
And Brissett's going to have to throw it to somebody. So I'm thinking McBride is going to get a ton of balls this year.
Yep.
But anyway, this is just a preliminary introduction to how we're going to be breaking it down. That's kind of what I wanted to do today, and say how many different types of leagues, how the rules are different in each league. And if you're in it for fun, don't worry about any of this stuff. Just have fun. And some of these statistics don't pay too much attention to. I know a lot of people will say, this team has a great defense, so don't start your
yeah.
Sometimes or their scheduling is bad this year. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me on this introduction for Fantasy Football Tips. And I'm going to turn it back over to Steve.
Yeah, that's the Fantasy Football Authority. Rick, behind the glass, man, that's going to be a fun segment of the show all the way through football season, and I'm looking forward to it. But that does it for our show this week. We'll be back next week right here on the Bottom Line Sports Talk Radio Show. So for the entertainer that is Rick Morris behind the window, and the man, the myth, the legend that is Mr. Harry Clary, I am Steve the Truth. We'll see you next week right here on the Bottom Line Sports Talk Radio Show on 106.1 ESPN Richmond.
And that's the bottom line.
And the truth, you'll set you free.
Thanks for tuning in to The Bottom Line with Steve the Truth Nugent, Harry Clary, and Rick Morris.